They say everyone has a book inside them, and often that's where it should stay. I really can't help but be aghast that the author wants you to pay. But we're just a pair of absolute bookends, you don't want to be like us. So if you want to read, pick some quality literature rather than this dross.
Hello! Welcome to Two Absolute Bookends, where we read books so bad you should burn them before reading. This is episode 13. Still no title this time. And this week, getting entangled with me all too lividly in the grim web of reality is Louis.
Hello.
We're reading from Chapter 5 of The Eye of Argon by Jim Theis. Again, can't support him, sadly no longer with us. He's fallen into the eyes himself. But read his book, 'cause it's free and it's ridiculous. So, where did we get to last week? Basically, we had two plots, if we can call them that, happening. Grigner was in his dark dungeon, as put in there by the wobbling prince, and he spent the first half chapter wondering what to do and thinking, shit, it's dark in here, and coming up with no plan. Then we had a cutaway to some cultists standing around an idol and a woman, and that's it, just describing that for too many words.
Oh, and we also met, I don't think that's quite the right word, but we saw the titular Eye of Argon.
Yeah, that was embedded in the idol that these shaman and some scantily clad maiden were crowding around. Still have no idea how that relates to anything else, but as it has the actual Eye of Argon in it, I'm assuming that's going to meet up with Grigner at some point. And then we cut back to Grigner, still contemplating his dark room. He got attacked by a rat, which he fucking destroyed. And then he formulated a plan to escape by doing something with the rat's corpse when the guards next try and move him on to the next part of his punishment. I'm guessing bone shiv, but we don't know. I mean,
it's what
nothing
I do.
really makes sense. Yeah. So, we're going to be going from Chapter 5, and I believe I'm starting this week.
Yep.
Cool. So, Chapter 5. Up to the altar and be done with it, wench, ordered a fidgeting shaman as he gave the female a grim stare accompanied by the wrinkling of his lips to a mirthful grin of delight. What? Man, this shaman's got a lot of stuff going on with him. He's fidgeting to himself. He's giving her a death glare, but then smiling to himself in happiness. She is getting some mixed messages from the get-go from this dude. The girl burst into a slow, steady whimper, stooping shakily to her knees and cringing woefully from the priest with both arms wound snake-like around the bulging jade shin, rising before her scantily attired figure.
Jade.
Ah, the idol so fat they named it twice. Her face was redly inflamed from the salty flow of tears spouting from her glassy, dilated eyeballs. Man, his description of eyes are always on point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what point, but they're always worth looking at. With short, heavy footfalls, the priest approached the female, his piercing stare never wavering from her quivering young countenance. Halting before the terrified girl, he projected his arm outward and motioned her to arise with an upward movement of his hand.
I don't know why that's funny.
It's just such a ridiculously over-engineered way of saying that he gestured for her to stand up. It's like we didn't need all that exact detail on what his arm was doing. The uncapitalized at the start of a new sentence, girl's whimpering increased slightly, and she sunk closer to the floor rather than arising. The flickering torches outlined her trim build with a weird ornate glow as it cast a ghostly shadow dancing in horrid waves of splendour over smoothly worn whiteness of the marble-hewn altar. The shaman's lips curled back farther, exposing a set of blackened, decaying molars, which transformed his slovenly grin into a wide, greasy arc of sadistic mirth, and alternately interposed into the female a strong sensation of stomach-curdling nausea. man, how wide does this guy smile that you can see his molars?
And his lips curling, like...
Just like has someone cut his lips off or something? No, he's got them. They're curling back. What's wrong with his face? And why are just his molars in such a state? Like, does he have like super shiny up front teeth? But then as you go back, they just get more and more fetid. A wide, greasy arc of sadistic mirth.
Why is it always greasy with this guy?
Yeah. What makes the smile greasy? I don't understand. Have it as you will, female, gloated the enhanced priest, as he bent over at the waist, projecting his ape-like arms forward, and clasped the female's slender arms with his hairy round fists. What's an enhanced priest?
One with hairy round fists.
Just like, yeah, your standard priests don't come with those. You got to get the enhanced package. For the greasy arc of sadistic mirth and the hairy round fists. With an inward surge of his biceps, he harshly jerked the trembling girl to her feet and smothered her salty wet cheeks with the mouldy touch of his decrepit dull red lips. Mouldy and decrepit lips. What does that even mean? Like, I feel like if they were actually mouldy, that would have bared describing when he was talking about his grin earlier.
Yeah.
And why is he now, kissing the cheek of this crying, scantily clad girl? What's he doing?
I guess they don't have dental plan, like, down here.
They definitely don't. The vile stench of the shaman's hot fetid breath overcame the nauseated female with a deep, sour, searing sickness, causing her to wrench her head backwards and regurgitate a slimy, orange-white stream of swelling gore over the richly woven purple robe of the infused acolyte. Okay. Yes, so that happened. She's now throwing up over the shaman. I mean, this is...
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen weirder porn, but still, what's going on here? Like, is he more enthused because of the vomit? Or is it just like he's just enthused, the vomit doesn't play into it at all?
I guess... I don't know.
How can we know what's going on with this acolyte? The priest... Wait, what is this guy? He's a shaman, he's an acolyte, he's a priest. What is he?
He's whatever he wants to be.
Yeah, he's of... I don't know.
He's a doer, that's what he is.
Yeah, he's making it happen. Whatever this is right now, he's the architect of his own destiny. The priest's lips trembled with a malicious rage as he removed his callous paws from the girl's arms and replaced them with tight... No,
yep,
that's right. And replaced them with tightly around her undulating neck, shaking her violently to and fro. 'Cause that'll help. That'll make her stop throwing up. The girl gasped a tortured groan from her clamped lungs. Clamped lungs? I guess, sort of, if he's choking her. Her sea blue eyes bulging forth from damp sockets. Cocking her right foot backwards, she leashed it desperately onwards with the strength of a demon possessed, lodging her sandal foot squarely between the shaman's testicles.
That's so specific, between them. Like,
yeah.
What a shot.
Yeah, she didn't just kick him in the balls. She got right between, like, she didn't pop any or anything. She went right between. Centre of the sack. What do you mean? I guess I guess if he's wearing like a big plush robe, they would just be like hanging there.
Yeah, I think you're painting that image for yourself.
Don't take this away from me, Louis. It's beautiful. His greasy, mouldy pendulums. The startled priest released his crushing grip, crimping his body over at the waist.
Crimping.
Ah, the power of the crimp. Crimping his body over the waist, overlooking his recessed belly, wide open in a deep chasm.
What?
His-
What's deep open?
What?
I don't understand what's wide open.
Wait, crimping his body over at the waist, overlooking his recessed belly, wide open in a deep Yeah. What's happening there?
Is it his mouth? Like, is it supposed to say his mouth wide open? But
Maybe it's saying his eyes, 'cause it's like overlooking, so his eyes are like open in sort of like shock, as in staring into the abyss with ball pain. Like, I think that's the most sensible way we can translate it. But it's also not really what he wrote.
yeah, there's a lot implied there.
Yeah. Like even without the spelling mistakes, I'm not sure what could possibly be being said there. Another poser. His face flushed to a rose-red shade of crimson, eyelids fluttering wide with eyeballs protruding blindly outwards from their sockets to their outmost perimeters. Man, like, everyone's balls are bulging here. Like, the woman's a second ago were trying to escape from her skull. Now these ones are just going crazy. While his lips quivered wildly about, allowing an agonized wallow to gust forth as his breath billowed from burning lungs. My God.
Yep.
That's a sentence. Why is his lungs burning?
Don't know, right between the testicles.
I didn't know that caused lung fires.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And quivering lips.
His hands reached out, clutched his urinary gland as his knees wobbled rapidly around for a few seconds. Then it buckled. So this guy has been kicked in the balls, so he grabs his penis and sinks to his knees.
Urine. That's a great description as well. Urinary gland.
I mean, like,
accurate.
I guess it's... Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I guess it's hard to kick the balls without causing a bit of collateral damage to the penis, but I still feel like that, you know... It'd be your testicles that are giving you the awful aches. I reckon those would be what you're clasping.
I like the idea of his knees like wobbling like some sort of cartoon, like whoa, and then like falling down.
Well, listen to the next description. Then buckled, causing the ruptured shaman to collapse in an egg-huddled mass to the granite pavement, rolling helplessly about in his agony. So ruptured, so like she must have popped one of them.
Oh, please.
That's a serious problem. No wonder he crimped over and grabbed his dick.
Wobbling.
It's like, so there's this ruptured shaman. What's an egg huddled mass? Is that talking about his balls?
Maybe.
Because I'm not sure what that means. But I like the idea of this guy grabbing his dick and rolling about screaming. That's an image for the ages. You know, this is... You know, up until this point, you would have thought that, you know, this was like... Yeah, this novel was portraying women in a slightly sexist way. They're all just wenches, scantily dressed people for Grigna to make love well to. But damn if this woman didn't take down this shaman with ease.
So I'm assuming this is the same situation that we were left with in the last half chapter.
Yeah, I'm assuming this is where 3.5 left us off.
So there are other shamans present.
I think so. I mean, I guess we'll find out. Like Like, if this isn't back in that room, then I have no idea why we were described what happened in 3.5.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it is, with, you know, idols, shaman, and a scantily clad maiden. Just like, this is just like such descriptive of like what happens to the shaman after he's been kicked in the nuts. Like, there's all these sort of like levels and pace. Like, I wonder if once this Jim was like kicked badly in the balls, and this is like his coping mechanism. It's like writing out how it happened, just getting it all out there on paper. Just like I crimped over, staring into the abyss. My face went from red, went to a rose red crimson, fluttering my protruding eyes. Then I grabbed my dick and rolled around screaming.
In an egg-huddled mess.
What a terrible time to be alive. But I got past it. You know, they had to replace the one that popped with a prosthetic, but, you know, the other one's fine. I can still procreate. The pathetic screeches of the shaman grovelling in dejected misery upon the hand-hewn granite-laid pavement, worn smooth by countless hours of arduous sweat and toil. A welter of ichor oozing through his clenched hands. Oh man, there is leaking. There is testicular leaking happening down there. Fucking hell, what did she do to him down there? I was like, God damn.
That's not right.
Do her sandals have golden spikes on them like the shaman's shoes? Because Jesus. This was just from a girl's sandals kicked to the nuts. It's fucking ground zero down there. Anyway, a welter of oozing ichor through his clenched hands attracted the perturbed attention of his comrades from their fetid ululations. What? Ululations. So while all this was happening, none of the rest of the shaman had any idea what was going on. They were just sort of like ulating to themselves, or like singing, making chanting noises, just like, oh Argon, you're great, oh. Just like while this guy's like trying to move this crying lady along, starts kissing her, then she throws up on him. He starts choking her, then she kicks him in the balls, and not until he's like on the floor, like screaming and rolling about, do they notice anything's going wrong. These guys were caught up in their Argon worship. The actions of this rebellious wench.
In mine, it's the actions of this rebellious.
Oh, you're right. Well caught. The actions of this rebellious wench bespoke the credence of an unheard-of sacrilege. Never before in a lost maze of untold eons had a chosen one dared to demonstrate such blasphemy in the face of the cult's idolic deity.
I think they chose the wrong one here.
Yeah. Right. They chose a very odd god. Yeah, I can understand her not being like wanting to go along with this. The girl cowered in unreasoning terror, helpless in the face of the emblazoned acolyte's rage. Her orchid tousled face smothered betwixt her bulging bosom as she shut her curled lashed tightly, hoping to open them and find herself awaking from a morbid nightmare.
Okay.
Shut her curled lashed tightly.
Eyes, I assume.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's missing there.
Tousled face smothered betwixt her bulging bosom. I like betwixt. That needs to be used more these days.
Yeah, not like this.
No.
Not by Jim.
Not
he
like
should
this.
definitely stop using it. Not in my name betwixt. Not like this.
I thought she had like a svelte figure, anyway.
I mean, I guess she's one of those people that's like svelte in body, but has like a massive pair of bangers on her.
Oh, okay.
You know, it sometimes happens. We've all been there. Yet the hand of destiny decreed her no such mercy. The agonized pack of leering shaman converging tensely on her prostrate form were entangled all too lividly on the grim web of reality. Shuddering from the clammy touch of the shaman as they grappled with her supple form, hands wrenching at her slender arms and legs in all directions, her bare body being molested in the midst of a labyrinth of orange smudges, purpled satin and mangled skulls, shadowed in an eerie crimson glow, her confused head reeled then clouded in a mist of enshrouding ebony as she lapsed beneath the protective sheet of unconsciousness to a land peach and resign. What on earth? What's... end scene.
Yeah.
End of chapter 5.
Peach and resign.
What? Can we peach and resign, Louis? Can we stop this?
Oh, I wish we could peach.
I wouldn't mind resigning if I got to peach first.
Hide me under that protective sheet of unconsciousness.
That sweet enshrouding ebony.
Confused head. Not mind, her head.
Just like, it's like, these shaman are molesting me. I found this confusing. What? Like, that's such a weird emotion to hold in that moment, you know? After being dragged across, collapsing in terror, being picked up, kissed, vomiting, choked, kicking a man in the balls, like cowering for your life, then picked up and molested by a group of shamans.
Why is this happening to me?
I mean, actually, when you lay it out that way, I suppose I would be confused. That's an incredibly confusing list of things to happen to someone. Okay then, yeah, confused head. I mean, I'd say we should give a chapter summary, but I think I've just done it.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
A weird one. Again, it's like we've gone to this shaman sort of story, not really learning much yet, still.
Yeah, like I described what actually happened there in like a sentence.
Yeah.
This was just more very descriptive violence and bad things. You know, a woman was kissed, vomited, kicked a man in the balls, and was then molested by a group of shaman and passed out. That's what happened. I mean, it took him hundreds of words, but that's what actually happened.
Yeah.
And we don't know why any of this is happening. Like, I don't think we know what a chosen one of, again, we're assuming Argon actually is. Like, we don't, I'm assuming, because it seems like that kind of a story, that she is going to be, like, sacrificed to Argon or something. Because that seems like the likely thing with her freaking out to this degree. You know, if they're just, like, gonna make her wear a silly hat, then I think she is overreacting a bit. But, yeah, we still don't know. And even if she is getting sacrificed to Argon, we don't know who Argon is other than a pagan deity. We don't know anything about the acolytes and the worship of Argon. We don't know how this relates to any of the main characters that we've met, if we can call Grigna and the prince that, and his horse.
Yeah.
No, we just have... This is just a cutaway to random violence, molestation, and bodily functions.
You've pretty much summed up this book so far quite well.
I mean, I guess this is just what Jim was into when he was 16. I mean, it's probably for the best that, you know, the internet didn't exist back then, because I dread to think what kind of shit he'd be searching. But yeah, I don't know. Any comments about Chapter 5, Louis, that it doesn't adequately say for itself?
No. Just that I'd like to forget everything that was described to me quite quickly. Yeah. So I suppose we'll move to Chapter 6?
Yeah, let's move swiftly away
Yeah.
from the testicular torment, vomit, and molestations.
Let's Peach and Resign 5, and
Yep,
we'll move on.
let's make like a Wench and Peach and Resign.
There's your title. So chapter 6 is a long one. So, yeah, let's just get right into it.
Yeah, let's go deep.
Chapter 6. Take hold of this rope, said the first soldier, and climb out from your pit, slut. Your presence is requested in another far deeper hellhole. Slut. That's not the first time we've heard him use slut as an insult.
Yeah, it's come up an awful lot. Describing mostly not women, actually.
Yeah,
mostly...
I like it. It's a new
Yeah,
movement. So progressive even back then.
It's yeah, it's taking control of slut and making it acceptable to use on men. But also, I like the bit of clarification that that the aperture that they were letting food in was just like a hole at the top of the room. It doesn't have a proper door
Because
it was not
climb his way
particularly
out.
clear. Yeah. How were they getting the food down to him? Were they like lowering it? Were they just chucking it in there?
I suppose.
Just, like,
yeah.
bowl of slop, bang. You'll have to lick it off the floor.
Grigner slipped his right hand to his thigh, concealing a small opaque object beneath the folds of the G-string wrapped around his waist. Oh yeah, I forgot that he's basically wearing that and like a cape.
Yeah. Actually, I'm not sure if he's actually wearing a cape or if I made that up because it made...
Just because you wanted him to be wearing more than just a G-string.
Well, just because it made more sense because he was talking about like basically unfurling his nakedness. And like the only way that I can see that happening without him like actively like undressing in front of this woman in the middle of a bar is to have like a cape, to have like a cloak around him and then to be like, behold, and then just pull it back. Behold the banana hammer.
Brine wells swelled in Grigner's cold. What? Jade, squinting eyes, which grown accustomed to the gloom of the Stygian pools of ebony engulfing him, were bedazzled and blinded by flickering radiance cast forth by the second soldier's resin torch. Brine wells swelled.
Yeah, that's another fantastic eye description. Like, I almost feel like we should make a list.
Yeah.
Like, some of these are amazing.
Brine wells swelled in Grigner's cold. Jade. Oh, I see. I read that terribly. Brine wells swelled in Grigner's cold, jade squinting eyes. I thought he had a cold or something, and it was just a really weird description of it.
Yeah, just like that was his nose running.
Yeah.
Just the Brian Wells. I do like the fact that at least, like Jim paid attention to the fact that Grigner wouldn't react well to light after this time.
Yeah.
Like, I was talking shit about how that would make his escape even more unlikely if it involved overpowering the
he's
guards.
way ahead of you.
Which it still does, but at least whatever bullshit that he writes around it is already like, he's put a pin in that. He knows.
Nice work. Tightly gripped in the second soldier's right hand, opposite the intermittent torch, was a large double-edged axe. A long leather wound oaken handle transfixing the centre of the weapon's iron head. Adorning the torsos of both of the sentries were thin yet sturdy halberks.
Halberk.
Halberks. Yep. What is that?
I think it would generally just be sort of like a chainmail kind of jacket, basically.
You're triggering some like medieval expert now. The exact kind of person that you would probably like be triggered by.
Exactly. If I heard someone describing halberks that badly, I'd probably be getting pissed off right now. But that gives you the general idea.
Yeah.
It's like just the armor they're wearing. Generally chainmail. It might have plates on it, I think, but that's probably something else. Ignore that. Delete this.
So adorning the torsos of both of the sentries were thin yet sturdy halberks. The breastplates of which were woven of tightly hemmed twines of reinforced silver braiding. Cupping the soldiers' feet were thick leather sandals, wound about their shins to 2 inches below their knees. Wrapped around their waists were wide satin girdles, with slender bladed poniards dangling loosely from them, the hilts of which featured scarlet encrusted gems. Poniard?
Not certain on that one, actually.
Nice.
I'm not sure. I've got to Google it now. Poignard.
Resting upon the manes of their heads and reaching midway to their brows were smooth copper morions.
Oh, it's a small, slim dagger, apparently.
And a morion?
A morion is a type of helmet.
That's probably expected if it was on their head.
Yeah.
But you never know.
Not like this.
Spiraling the lower portion of the helmet were short, up-curved silver spikes, while a golden hump spiraled from the top of each bassinet. Beneath their chins...
But is it a morion or a bassinet?
Are they very different? God, this is really testing your military knowledge.
I mean, yeah, they're pretty different helmets as far as I'm aware. I mean, yeah, I don't know how it can be both. I don't know.
Okay.
I need to do more research into this.
And you will.
I will.
Beneath their chins wound around...
I'll come back with a little essay on the inaccuracies of the armaments of Grigner's guards and the Eye of Argon.
You will. Beneath their...
Could be a special little feature for the blog.
Beneath their chins, wound around their necks, and draping their clad shoulders, dangled regal purple satin cloaks, which flowed midway to the soldiers' feet. What? How can they flow midway to the soldiers' feet? Oh, I see. Like to their back? To their waist? Is that a way of saying it went to their waist? Flowed midway to the soldiers' feet. I guess that's just a long about way of saying waist.
Probably. I mean, I guess it must do. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just thinking about like these guards' armaments. Like, it's kind of out there. Like, for one thing, a double-bladed axe seems like a bit crazy for prisoner escort duty. Basically, I mean, I'd say generally you'd want like a spear or something. You can poke someone along with. I mean, well, they got that too, but it's just, I don't know, it sounds like that they're basically in some kind of like catacombs beneath the thing. Like, I don't know, it's going to be quite hard to swing a big axe that size, you know. I've played Mount and Blade. My sword's bounced off things. It's not fun.
Hand over hand. That's lowercase hand. Start of a new sentence.
New paragraph.
New paragraph, even. Hand over hand, feet braced against the dank walls of the enclosure, huge Grigner ascended. Not regular Grigner, huge Grigner.
Just in case we forgot that he was a hulking barbarian.
I like how
the peak of physical.
I like how the descriptions throughout this whole thing have been very like over the top and like thesaurus, like clad and just like absolutely ridiculous. And then here he just gave up. Oh, huge Grigner.
Yeah,
like, he's big, okay.
Just know like. Just notice like the bulging Colossus Grigner ascended. There's huge Grigner. Yeah. It's quite refreshing, actually.
Huge Grigner ascended from the mouldering depths of the forlorn abyss.
I think that's supposed to be depths.
Yeah, but it's depths. His swelled limbs stiff. There we go, we're back to the descriptions. His swelled limbs stiff due to the boredom of a timeless inactivity.
Yeah, he could have worked out in there. He could have like done press-ups or something.
He fucking just destroyed a rat, like ripped it in half. How can they be stiff due to boredom?
He's talking about how bored and hungry he was. He's a big old barbarian. Why wasn't he working out, you know? Come on, Grigner, you're skipping leg day.
Compounded by the musty atmosphere. Atmosphere?
It's not quite atmosphere. It's not quite moisture. It's atmosphere.
And jagged granite, protuberant against his body, craved for action.
I think that's protruding?
Yeah, that word. But
Yeah.
I'm not saying it wrong. It is protuberant in the book.
Yeah, it is definitely written protuberant.
Crave for action. The opportunity now presenting itself served the purpose of oiling his rusty joints and honing his dulled senses. His dulled senses. Oiling his rusty joints. As I said, he's just destroyed a rat and, like, carved a shiv out of its bone. Like,
We're assuming.
well, yeah, well, we know.
I mean...
we know that he has a small opaque object beneath his G-string.
He might just have some rat guts in his
The
hands.
G-string isn't the best, like, clothing to hide this at all.
Yeah, like...
They must be like, what is that?
Like, I don't know. I never imagine... Like, I don't know, this is just a quick diversion into my own mind, but I was never imagining Grigner in sort of like a tight, budgie smuggling leather G-string.
Oh, I was.
Like, I don't know, I was imagining him with like some loincloth dealio, where it's just sort of like a scrap of cloth joined at either side and flapping about in front of his man parts. So yeah.
See, I was at least thinking that it would be like it would be containing his man parts, not flapping around. It's like a sort of
like for a warrior, I'd say it probably makes more sense because I know
you don't want those flapping about.
I know it might serve to distract your enemy as Grigner's mighty protuberant starts flapping about as he runs towards you. You can't keep your eye on the prize while you're staring at Grigner's swollen member. I mean, there's like a history of that. The cults, they used to love to fight naked to show their bravery and to unman, as it were, their enemies with their madness and bravery. So, maybe Grigner, when battles joined, you just cut the little bit of the side of his G-string, let loose, and go barbarian on their ass.
I guess you can just imagine it however you want.
Yeah, This is my Eye of Argon fan fiction. Sorry, I got quite distracted there thinking about the contents of Grigner's tight G-string. I hate it when that happens.
Moving on. He braced himself, facing the second soldier. The sentry's stature was wildly exaggerated in the glare of the flickering crescent cuppix in his right fist.
What?
Okay, so flickering crescent cuppix.
Is a cuppix actually a word?
Let's find out.
I don't think it is, but it's weird
it's nothing
enough.
It's not like anything else I've seen in my life. So it must be a word, but it's not.
It's not a word.
Cuppix.
There's a YouTube channel called Cuppix.
Shout out. Let's make sure.
One Direction profile never ends at Svenska GSM. Uploaded 5 years ago.
Check it out.
What is this video? I'm watching it. I'm going to fast forward a bit, Cuppix. I want to see what's actually going on here. So they're making a picture of One Direction. Well, it's made. They're like cutting them out and making a background.
Right. Who's they?
Cuppix.
Oh, the channel's called Cuppix.
Yeah, the channel's called Cuppix.
I see.
I'm
also watching this video.
I have the One Direction infection. I have the One Direction infection.
It's basically a 4-minute video of someone in Photoshop or something.
Of Cuppix.
Yeah, Cuppix making One Direction poster.
Yeah. I like to imagine that to this day this is like Cuppix's background on their desktop.
I like at the end of the video it says, "Don't copy." Oh, I guess we're...
Yeah, I might have to delete this too.
No. So, anyway, away from One Direction, back to Grigner. Yeah. So, wait, hang on. Cuppix. Let's go.
No, actually, back to Cuppix. What the fuck?
Flickering crescent Cuppix.
What's crescent mean? Is that a word? We're going to find another YouTube channel. Crescent.
It's a company. It's a performing arts theatre in Peterborough.
man. People should be paying us for this.
Yeah.
So much
Here we
advertising
go.
we're doing
A
for
cresset.
free.
I found a cresset. A cresset is a metal cup or basket, often mounted to or suspended from a pole, containing oil, pitch, a rope steeped in rosin, or something flammable. So basically, it's like a beacon or a torch.
Yeah, so it's like a torch, but in the end of a long.
Yeah, cressets mounted on the walls of Renaissance palaces in Italy were the first form of street lighting. There you go. So I'm guessing that was mounted on the wall. And
wait, where?
The sentry's stature was wildly exaggerated in the glare of the flickering cresset cuppix. Oh, cupped in his right fist. I'm guessing. Yeah, X is near D. We did it.
We did it. We translated it.
One of those was a word.
And it helped us find out what the other word was. This is like doing fucking cryptic crosswords.
His eyes were wide open in a slightly slanted owlish glaze. So they were wide open and slightly slanted, enhanced in their sinister intensity by the hawk-bill curve of his nose, and pale, one word, yellow peak of his cheeks. So he's a bird?
He's just got an aquiline nose.
Suddenly bird puns, or like bird descriptions.
I mean, you don't usually describe hawks as having a bill, though. You generally say they have a beak. Bills are generally like rounded things, like ducks and waterfowl have.
Place your hands behind your back, said the second soldier, as he raised his axe, spelt incorrectly, AX, over his right shoulder blade and cast it a wavering glance. We must bind.
So he looked at his axe after he put it on his shoulder, like.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
my axe. Yeah. We must bind your wrists to parry any attempts at escape. Be sure to make the knot a stout one, Broig. We wouldn't want our guests to take leave of our guidance. Broig grasped Grigner's left wrist. That's a hard sentence. Like, Broig grasped Grigner's left wrist and reached for the barbarian's right wrist. Grigner wrenched his right arm free and swiveled to face Broig. Swilveld to face Broig. Reach, dash, beneath his loincloth. Just dash.
So he reached, but not beneath his loincloth.
With his right hand. So he does have a loincloth.
Does he? Maybe he's like doubling up. Maybe he's like a shy barbarian, and he's actually got a G-string on, and then like a loincloth, like I was describing, flapped over it for double.
He's a never nude.
Oh my god!
The first.
He tries to distract from the fact by wearing literally nothing else, but he never takes off his G-string. He just has a bit of fabric hung over it so people can't tell it's there.
But recoiled short of his intentions at Grigner. No, okay, so he's reaching beneath his loincloth with his right hand. The sentry grappled at his girdle for the sheathed dagger, but recoiled short of his intentions as Grigner's right arm swept to his gorge. The soldier went limp, his bobbing eyes rolling beneath fluttering eyelids, a deep welt across his spouting gullet. Without lingering to observe the result of his efforts, Grigner dropped to his knees. The second soldier's axe cleft over Grigner's head in a blizz of silvered ferocity, severing several scarlet locks from his scalp. Ouch. Coming to rest. That's not in the book, the ouch.
Owie, said Grigner.
Ow. Charlie, coming to rest in his fellow stomach, the iron head crashed through mail and flesh with splintering force.
Yes, the whole book is mail.
Spilling a pool of crimsoned entrails over the granite paving. I'm not entirely sure what I just read. So there's two soldiers. Grigner went for his loincloth, and then he stabbed one of them.
So I guess that is confirmation that he did make a bone shiv from the rat, though never explicitly said anywhere. He's leaving that one for us to, figure out.
And then the second soldier axed some of his hair.
Which I'm not sure how that would actually happen. I guess if the axe was razor sharp, maybe, but it still seems more like that the hair would move out of the way rather than be actually cut off.
And then he finished off that second soldier.
So there are just two soldiers, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Just these two. So yeah, I think this is kind of proving when I was explaining why an axe is kind of a weird thing to take to this mission.
I think I've just read a bit, and I think we're going to get a bit more information here.
Okay.
Before the sentry could wrench his axe free from his comrade's carcass, so I'm guessing he, following through from cutting off the hair, he axed his dead friend.
Well, yeah, that's what it says. It came to rest in his fellow's stomach.
He found Grigner's massive hands clasped about his throat, choking the life from his clamped lungs. With a zealous grunt, the accordion flexed his tightly corded biceps, forcing the grim-faced soldier to one knee. The sentry plunged his right fist into Grigner's face, digging his grimy nails into the barbarian's flesh, ejaculating a curse through rasping teeth. Grigner, uncapitalized, surged the bulk of his weight forward.
I'm guessing forward.
Forward.
Yeah.
Bowling the besieged soldier over upon his back. The sentry's arms collapsed to his thigh, shuddering convulsively, his bulging eyes staring blindly from a bloated, cherry-red face. Rising to his feet, Grigner shook the blood from his eyes. Blood.
Danged blood.
That's BLLOD. Yep.
Oh, blood.
Bloody hell. Ruffling his scurly red mane as a brush fire.
My one says surly.
Yep. So does mine. Same text.
You said scurly.
Yeah, I did. Ruffling his surly red mane. Wasn't the beard surly earlier on?
Yeah. The surly beard of Mifric.
And now the surly red mane of
Grigner. I know who I'd worship.
As a brush fire swaying to the nighttime breeze. What's
Nighttime.
wrong with it? I'm going to do this again.
Redo.
Ruffling his surly red mane as a brush fire swaying to the nighttime breeze. Stooping over the literally SPR. I don't know. Stooping over the SPR, sprawled corpse of the first soldier, Grigner retrieved the small white object from a pool of congealed gore.
Do you think he just started writing sprawled but failed, then started writing it again?
Yeah, that seems likely. Snorting a gusty billow of mirth, he once more concealed TH_E tiny object beneath his loincloth. The tediously honed pelvis bone of the broken rodent. There you go. Confirmation.
Nice.
Returning his attention toward the second soldier, Grigner turned to the task of attiring his limbs. Jesus Christ. To move about freely through the dim recesses of the castle would require the grotesque garb of its soldiery. Is that a word?
Yeah. But yeah, I was just gonna say, so he's going to be looting these guys' corpses, and he's going to be getting dressed up in the garb of their soldiery, but he's still keeping his concealed rat pelvis hidden away.
Yeah, he's not taking the axe
in his little speedo.
This will do me.
I so hope that he uses that to, whoever turns out to be, the last kill of the book, I hope that he does it with this little rat pelvis shiv. He's been disarmed and everything, and then he's just wing, stab. That would be such a Chekhov's rat pelvis. It'd be amazing.
I like the image of huge Grigner, trying to fit into these guys' soldier clothes, just being a terrible fit, like walking around like, "Hello, I am soldier."
Yeah, just he can't fit into any of it. He's had to like break the chainmail down the back. He's just kind of like got it flapped over his shoulders, like the hat's just perched on top of his surly red mane. All of his heels are like sticking out the back of the sandals,
Yeah.
and his toes are going way over the front. Just none of it fits. And like, you know, he hasn't even tried with the girdle. He's just carrying that around with him.
Utilising the silence and stealth acquired in the untamed climes of his childhood, Grigner slink through twisting corridors and winding stairways, lighting his way with the confiscated torch of his dispatched guardian. Knowing where his steps were leading to, Grigner meandered aimlessly in search of an exit from the chateau's dim confines. Back to a chateau. The wild blood coursing through his veins yearned for the undefiled freedom of the livid wilderness lands.
Isn't that a contradiction? Knowing where his steps were leading to, he meandered in search of an exit. So where's he going, if not an exit?
I think he's just trying to find an exit.
But that's what it says, knowing where his steps were leading to. That makes it sound like he knows the way out. But then it's like, but he's wandering aimlessly in search of a way out.
Maybe it's just saying that, like, because of the light, he can literally see where his steps are leading.
Maybe it is being that literal. It's like, because I can see my feet, I'm just going to have a wander.
Otherwise, he was like, "Where's my feet? Where are they?" Oh, there they are. Coming upon a fork in the passage, he trekked. That's spelt wrong, right?
Yeah. That is.
Coming upon
definitely.
A fork in the passage, he shrieked. Voices accompanied by clinking footfalls discerned to his sensitive ears from the left corridor. Wishing to avoid contact, Grigner veered to the right passageway. If questioned as to the purpose of his presence, his barbarous accent would reveal his identity, being that his attire was not that of the castle's mercenary troops. But I don't know. In grim silence, Grigner treaded down the dingily lit corridor, a stalking panther creeping waringly along on padded feet. After an interminable period of wandering through the dull corridor, no gaps to break the monotony of the cold grey walls, Grigner espied.
It's a word.
Grigner espied a small winding stairway. Descending the flight of arced granite slabs to their posterior, Grigner was confronted by a short hallway leading to a tall arched wooden doorway. Halting before the teeming portal. That's like the fourth time that's happened in this chapter.
What's going on?
Halting before the teeming portal, Grigner rested his shaggy head sideways against the barrier. Detecting no sound from within, he grasped the looped metal handle of the door, his arms surging with a tremendous effort of bulging muscles, yet the door would not budge. Retrieving his axe, spelled incorrectly, from where he had sheathed it beneath his girdle, he hefted it in his mighty hands with an apiized grunt. I'm guessing he means
what?
like an. I'm guessing it means like an ape. Right?
I don't know.
An apiized grunt, and wedging one of its blackened edges into the crack between the portal and its iron-rimmed sill. Bracing his sandaled right foot against the ruggedly hewn wall, teeth tightly clenched, Grigner apelevered the oaken haft. I'm sorry, what's going on? Did he have a stroke at this point? I'm doing that sentence again. Bracing his sandaled right foot against the roughly hewn wall, teeth tightly clenched, Grigner apelevered the oaken haft.
I mean, I guess that's meant to be applied, but he then thought he's going to lever with it, so then he got a bit confused, and it's like, he levered it.
Employing it as a lever, whereby to pry open the barrier. The leatherwood hilt bending to its utmost limits of endurance, the massive portal swung open with a grating of snapped latch and rusty iron hinges. Glancing about the dust-swirled room in the gloomily dancing glare of his flickering cresset, which we know what that is now,
Yeah.
Grigner eyed evidences of the enclosure being nothing more than a forgotten storeroom.
When's Grigner going to have his, children's educational programme? Learning with Grigner.
Yeah.
Today, the Cresset. Cresset.
Miscellaneous articles required for the maintenance of the castle were piled in disorganized heaps at infrequent intervals towards the wall opposite the barbarian's piercing stare. Utilizing long, bounding strides, Grigner paced his way over to the mounds of supplies to discover if any articles of value were contained within their midst. I love that, so efficient. He's got a...
Yeah, why did he suddenly, of all the times, now it's important to know how Grigner's walking?
I like... What do you think are these miscellaneous articles required for the maintenance of a castle?
Tapestries, bricks,
cressets,
cressets, many
cressets.
cressets, oil and pitch for the cressets.
I guess a ladder or two, I would imagine.
Oil and rags for shining the cressets. The kind of brackets you need to put a cresset on the wall, and then the ones that you can mount and hold.
Mainly
Grigner
items
has.
to do with cressets.
I can't think of what else a castle would need. And maybe weapons.
Yeah. Detecting a faint clinking sound, Grigner sprawled to his left side with the speed of a striking cobra.
So it's like a striking cobra. That sounds so precise and sort of on point. It's like he sprawled, so he flopped to his side with the speed of a cobra,
landing harshly upon his back. How did that happen? Oh, I fucked it.
Yeah, he heard a slight noise, so he just throws himself onto his
just
back
like a cobra
as fast as possible, as cobras are known to do.
Landing harshly upon his back, torch and axe loudly clattering to the floor in a morass of sparks and flame. What an idiot.
He heard a slight noise, so his response is to make a noise that anyone around will definitely hear while dropping his light source and fucking weapon.
Potentially setting himself on fire.
Setting his I can't do this. Setting his loincloth on fire. Now, that'd scare your opponent.
Yeah.
If he's going to do that to himself, what'll he do to me?
An elm-woven board leaped from collapsed flooring, clashing against the jagged flooring and spewing a shower of orange and yellow sparks over Grigner's startled face. Rising uneasily to his feet and the half-stunned accordion glared down at the gruesome arm of death he had unwittingly sprung. Murph. Murph. Yet another brilliant name, which all of his names are one vowel.
Well, that's the guy with the surly beard, remember? The surly beard
yes.
of I pronounced it Mrifk, but I quite like Murfk. Murfk.
So has he just jumped on Murph? Is that what's happened?
I actually don't know what just happened. So Grigner heard a sound. He jumped to his left, slamming on his back, dropping his torch and axe. Then an elm-woven board leapt from the collapsed flooring.
What does that mean?
I don't know what that means. Clashing against the jagged flooring and spewing a shower of orange and yellow
I'm guessing
sparks.
that means the fire, the torch he was holding.
But it doesn't say that anywhere.
No.
Like, and it says like, is this meant to be like a trap?
Yeah, and
or
it says he
something?
rises and then looks down at Murph.
I don't know if Murph is actually there. I hope he is.
Oh,
I'd
so
love
he's
to
just
meet
saying
him.
Murph.
Yeah, you know, like we'd go, God.
Oh, is Murph God?
I mean, a type of barbarian god, I assumed. I mean, it's what it sounded like, you know, by the surly beard of Mrifk is like going, Christ
I
on
see.
a bike.
I thought Murph was a person
No,
in the
it's like
room.
going...
I'm not following this well. Anyway, if not for his keen auditory organs and lightning steel reflexes, Grigner would have been groping through the shadowed hell pits of the Grim Reaper. He had unknowingly stumbled upon an ancient, long-forgotten booby trap. A mistake.
Oh, so it was.
Yeah. A mistake which would have stunted the perusal of longevity of one less agile. Fucking hell.
What a way... what?
Would have killed someone more stupid, basically.
Well, someone slower.
Stunted
I mean,
the perusal of longevity.
yeah, just what a way to say that.
Mm-hmm.
What a way to say it would shorten their life.
A mechanism similar in type to that of a miniature catapult was concealed beneath two collapsible sections of granite flooring. The arm of the device was 4 feet long, boasting razor-like cleats at regular intervals along its face, with which it was to skewer the luckless body of its would-be victim. Grigner had stepped upon a concealed catch, which released a small metal latch beneath the 2 granite sections, causing them to fall inwards, and thereby loose the spiked arm of death they precariously held in.
So, one question. Why is this in a storeroom?
I don't know, maybe they were storing it.
Yeah. Gonna have to throw it away now.
You've got to keep your booby trap somewhere, but I don't know whether it's a good idea to keep them armed. Also, so it's basically a giant rat trap by the sounds of it.
Yeah, it sounds like a big springed arm with spikes on it. So yeah, it would have just like smacked into Grigner
That
and
he
impaled him.
almost jumped on.
Oh no, I think he jumped out of the way.
Oh, I
of
see.
it.
When he heard the clinking sound, which was...
Yeah, that was him arming the trap, and then his barbarian instincts kicked in, and he acted just like a cobra and flopped on his back, dropping everything.
Partially out of curiosity, and partially out of an inordinate fear of becoming a pincushion for a possible second trap, Grigner plunged his torch into the exposed gap in the floor. The floor of a second chamber stood out 7 feet below the glare. Tossing his torch through the aperture, Grigner grasped the side of an adjoining tile, dropping down.
I don't think that wanting to avoid being skewered is like an unreasonable fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds quite sensible. What I don't understand is how that, like, opening up this trap seems to have just opened, like, immediately you can just see down to the floor below now.
Mm-hmm.
That seems kind of weird. So like could the people below like look up and see this like armed trap above them? Just like, yep, that'll get someone someday.
I don't know.
I just don't know.
Glancing about the room, Grigner discovered that he had descended into the palace's mausoleum. Rectangular stone crypts cluttered the floor at evenly placed intervals. The tops of the enclosures were plated with thick layers of virgin gold, while the sides were plated with white ivory, at one time sparkling, but now grown dingy through the passage of the rays of all-encompassing Mother Time. All-encompassing Mother Time. Obviously all-encompassing, but I like all-encompassing.
All-encompassing sounds like a cool guy.
Featured at the head of each sarcophagus in tarnished silver was an
He sounds like a stationery distributor.
all-encompassing. All-encompassing Limited. Featured at the head of each sarcophagus in tarnished silver was an expungingly carved likeness of its rotting inhabitant.
What the fuck?
Expunging is heavily.
I have no idea how we're meant to pronounce that.
Is that a word?
Or what it's meant to mean. I fucking hope it isn't.
I'm googling it. It is not a word. Did you mean
Google
expansively?
saying, yeah, would that make sense?
Expansively carved likeness. No.
I mean, it makes more sense than expungensively.
Yeah, that is certainly true.
Because that is gibberish.
A dingy atmosphere pervade the air. A dingy atmosphere pervaded. Okay, yeah,
Yes.
got it.
That's a word, Louis, that you're reading.
Yeah. A dingy atmosphere pervaded the air of the chamber, which sealed in the enclosure for an unknown period had grown thick and stale. Oh, I've read that completely wrong.
I think it's also written quite long.
I'm going to just start this paragraph again.
Yeah, redo.
A dingy atmosphere pervaded the air of the chamber, which sealed in the enclosure for an unknown period had grown thick and stale. I think there's supposed to be a comma there, like, which, sealed in the enclosure for an unknown period, had grown thick and stale.
Yeah, that would make sense. Unlike this.
Intermingling with the curdled currents was the repugnant stench of slowly mouldering flesh, creeping ever slowly but surely through minute cracks. Minute? Minute.
Minute.
Am I saying that wrong? Or is that actually how minute is spelled?
I think that's just how it's spelt.
Yeah. You're never sure with this guy.
It's one of those words,
Yeah.
you know.
I guess if I was reading like a proper book, I would read it as minute, because I wouldn't assume it was wrong. Creeping ever slowly but surely through minute cracks in the numerous vaults. Due to the embalming of the bodies, their flesh decayed at a much slower rate than is normal. Yet the nauseous odour was none the less repellent. Fuck me. That's halfway through chapter 6.
Really? Is there really that much left?
There is.
It is
Maybe even more.
It's quite long.
I was quite slow at reading.
I don't... I guess so. Towering over Grigner's head was the trap he released. The mechanism of the miniaturized catapult. That's not how you spell catapult. Was cluttered with mildew and cobwebs. Notwithstanding these relics of antiquity, its efficiency remained unimpinged. To the right of the trap wound a short stairway through a recess in the ceiling, a concealed entrance leading to the mausoleum for which the catapult had obviously been erected as a silent, relentless guardian. Why is it in the floor? Why is the entrance in the floor behind a trap? And why? It's also not a catapult. It's just a spring mechanism. If it had killed him, it wouldn't have been because it catapulted anything at him. It's because it would have, from torsion, impaled him with spikes. It's quite whatever. We don't have time to get on with everything that's wrong with that. To the right of the trap wound a short stairway through a recess in the ceiling, a concealed entrance leading to the mausoleum for which the catapult. Yeah, I just realised that. Climbing up the side of the device, Grigner set to the task of resetting its mechanism. In the event that a search was organised, it would prove well to leave no evidence of his presence before wandering eyes. Besides, it might even serve to dwindle the size of an opposing force.
Yeah.
Descending from his perch, Grigner was startled by a faintly muffled scream of horrified desperation. His hair prickled Yorkishly. What?
Yorkishly?
Is that a word?
I'm using it if it is. And even if it isn't, Yorkishly. I think it means hawkishly.
I think he means hawkishly, because that ain't coming up.
This is an amazing sentence.
where had I even gotten to?
His hair prickled Yorkishly. Descending from his perch is the paragraph.
Yeah, right. I just couldn't find it in the. His hair prickled Yorkishly in disorganised clumps along his scalp.
That's not generally how that works. If your hair stands up, it generally all stands up.
Yeah, just I think we're meant to. I think Grigna's meant to have like long barbarian hair too. I think. I'm not sure if we've ever had his hair length described, but that's how I was imagining him, with like dreamy locks and in his dreamy yet surly red locks on his head. But again, I'm not sure. But either way, yeah, that's weird. As a cold danced along the length of his spinal cord, no moral/mortal barrier, human or otherwise, was capable of arousing the numbing sensation of fear inside Grigna's smouldering soul. However, he was overwrought by the forces of the barbarian's instinctive fear of the supernatural. He mighty threw... His mighty thews had always served to adequately conquer any tangible foe. Full stop, comma. But the intangible was something distant and terrible. Dim, horrifying tales passed by word of mouth over glimmering campfires, and skins of wine had more than once served the purpose of chilling the marrowed core of his sturdy-limbed bones.
What? Skins of wine? Sounds like a band.
Haven't you heard of skins of wine? That's like how people would used to carry liquids, like when they were travelling.
In, like animal skins.
Yeah,
right.
like
I thought,
you'd get skins of water and wine because generally for a long journey, like you didn't want to just like have a big earthenware pot that you were carrying full of water.
That
skins were a lot more convenient.
That may be, but it is also a good name for a band.
Skins of wine.
I'm just thinking of Fountains of Wayne. Skins of wine, Fountains of Wayne.
That should be our Fountains of Wayne tribute band.
Yeah.
Skins of Wine.
Now that we have the name for it, there's nothing stopping us. That's all we were missing.
Yeah. We rehearsed everything, but we were just lacking the name.
I mean, we'd done Stacey's mum. What else?
Chilling the marrowed core of your sturdy-limbed bones. Fucking hell, Grigna. Like, has any... So what actually happened? So he heard a scream, and then he suddenly got terrified of the supernatural.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because he heard... Like, is that all it takes? He hears, like a woman screaming, and he's just like, oh, ghosts. Demons. That's the only thing it could be. My instinctive barbarian fear has been rustled. Yet the scream contained a strangely human quality, unlike that which Grigna imagined would come from the lungs of a demon or spirit. What? So it didn't even sound like an evil beast screaming. It just sounded like a person screaming, and it's like, oh, demons. Except that doesn't sound like a demon. Whatever. Making Grigna take short nervous strides, advancing to the sarcophagus from which the sound was issuing. Clenching his teeth in an attempt to steel his jangled nerves, Grigna slid the engraved slab from the vault with a sharp rasp of grinding stone.
He's not doing a very good job of trying to escape.
No, he isn't. He's going deeper into the earth. He nearly got impaled with a trap, and now he's like just opening up sarcophagi. Another long-drawn cry of terror-infested anguish met the barbarian, scoring like the shrill piping of a demented banshee. piercing the inner fibres of the suspicious brain with primitive dread and awe.
Dread.
Dread and awe. Primitive dread and awe. Now that sounds like some supernatural solicitors. Dread and awe. Stooping over to espy the tomb's contents, the glittering accordion's nostrils were singed by the scorching aroma of a mouldering...
Glittering nostrils.
were singed by the scorching aroma of a mouldering corpse, long shut up and fermenting, the same putrid scent which permeated the entire chamber, though multiplied to a much more concentrated dosage. The shriveled leathery packet of crumbling bones and dried flaking flesh offered no resistance, but remained in a fixed position of perpetual vigilance, watching over his dim abode from hollow gaping sockets. It sounds like this corpse is like past putrescence. You know, it's like dried, flaking flesh, you know, and all leathery, you know. Like, I'm sure it doesn't smell of roses in there, but, you know, it sounds like the rot's past him and he's basically mummified. Mm-hmm. But whatever, you can't get anything past the glittering nostrils of an accordion.
I don't think you would have ever envisioned you saying that sentence.
It's a rare one. You know, it's going there in my list of rare sentences. It's going to be a top 10. I don't think I'll ever have cause to say that again. The tortured Kriz were not coming from the tomb, but from some hidden depth below. Pulling the reeking... Not like that. Bad, Jim. Pulling the reeking corpse from its resting place, Grigna tossed it to the floor in a broken, mangled heap. Upon one side of the crypt's bottom was attached a series of tiny hinges, while running parallel along the opposite side of a convex railing-like protuberance, laid so as to appear as a part of the interior surface of the sarcophagus. So there's a secret door in this sarcophagus.
Yep.
Like, I don't know, like, when he realised there was some hidden depth below, I thought he was going to be like, oh, there's a floor below here that I can hear through. But this is the actual door through, beneath a corpse. Why? Why would you...
And the fact that he's, like, instantly gone to the right sarcophagus.
I mean, I guess it's the only one with a door in it, so it sounded like the scream was coming from it.
Possibly.
But still the fact that before even looking around to see if there was any stairs in the room, he was just like immediately, okay, hoik out the corpse. Is there a door in the bottom of this? Like, you know, I can understand coming back to it after you look around, just like, nope, this is a dead end. But just like, immediately, get rid of that business. Raising the slab upon its bronzed hinges, long removed from the gaze of human eyes, Grigna perceived a scene which caused his blood to smoulder not unlike bubbling molten lava. Directly below him a whimpering female lay stretched upon a smooth-surfaced marble altar. A pack of grassy-faced shaman clustered around her in a tight circular formation. Crouched over the girl was a tall, pot-bellied priest, his face dominated by a disgusting open-mouthed grimace of sadistic glee. Suspended from the acolyte's clenched right hand was a carved oval-faced mallet, which he waved menacingly over the girl's shadow face, an incoherent gibberish flowing from his grinning, thick-lipped mouth. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a funny image.
just like he's not even like. So it's not like Grigna's going to come down and stop this mid-swing. He's just there, standing above this girl, surrounded by a ring of other shamans smiling, waving it at her while talking gibberish. What's happening in there? This isn't my fetish at all. In the face of the amorphous, broad-breasted female... What? I'm just going to have to start that again. In the face of the amorphous, broad-breasted female, stretched out alluringly before his gaping eyes, the universal whim of nature filling a plea of despair inside of his white-hot soul, Grigner acted in the only manner he could perceive. Giving vent to a hoarse, throat-rending battle cry, Grigner plunged into the midst of the Startan shaman, torch simmering in his left hand and axe twirling in his right hand. So, wait, is he a whim of nature?
I think he's saying that because he's seeing this naked woman.
All he can do is kill the shaman.
Yeah. Well, what do you do when you see a naked woman?
I mean, I must admit, shaman don't hang around me anymore. A gaunt, skull-faced priest standing at the far side of the altar, clutched desperately at his throat, coughing furiously in an attempt to catch his breath.
He hasn't even done anything yet.
What's going on?
I'm choking.
Lurching. He's just so shocked by seeing the barbarian. He just starts. His throat's just closed up. He can't deal with this kind of stress. Lurching helplessly to and fro, the acolyte Lurching helplessly to and fro, the acolyte pitched headlong against the gleaming base of a massive jade idol.
Idiot. So Grigner's just jumped down, and this guy's just lost all control of his body. He's just head first into a statue. Grigner's just okay.
So I didn't expect that. Oh, fucking hell. Oh dear. Oh, I need a moment. Oh my god. Writhing agonizedly against the hideous image, foam flecked his chalk-white lips. The priest struggled helplessly, the victim of an epileptic seizure. So actually, that's exactly what happened. Grigner scared him so much he had a seizure. Why did Jim decide this should happen? I don't know why. I wish that had just been what happened to all of the cultists when Grigner appeared, He's just such a striking figure in his too tight armor, in his girdle, with his little posing pouch, but muscles in the peak of their size and strength.
Like it.
Yeah, they're just so shocked and terrified. They all just have fits and pass out. Oh my god. Why did that happen? Why did he decide a guy should have an epileptic fit? But I guess, much like the rest of the shaman, we're going to have to work with this new reality. Startled by the barbarian's stunning appearance, the chronic fit of their fellow, and the fear that Grigner might be the avant-garde of a conquering force dedicated to the cause of destroying their degenerated cult, the shaman momentarily lost their... Oh, you're right. Sorry. The Sayman momentarily lost their composure, giving vent to heedless pandemonium. The priests fell easy prey to Grigner's sweeping arc of crimson death and maiming destruction. Destruction, yes. Maiming distrust everywhere. Oh. So, they basically all did just start panicking and running around, just what's going on? This woman's screaming. There's this amazing barbarian who leading an attack.
This sacrifice isn't going
well. Our guy's
well.
having a... Yeah, just our friend down there's foaming at the mouth and cracking his skull open on the feet of Argon. What do we do? The acolyte performing the sacrifice took a vicious blow to the stomach, hands clutching vitals and severed spinal cord as he sprawled over the altar. The Dysor Anzid priests lurched and staggered with split skulls,
Disorganized,
yes. The disorganized priests, lurched and staggered with split skulls, dismembered limbs, and spewing entrails before the enraged Accordian's relentless onslaught. The howls, spelt wrong, of the maimed and dying reverberated against the walls of the tiny chamber. A chorus of hell-fraught despair as the granite floor ran red with blood. The entire chamber was encompassed in the heat of raw, savage butchery, as Grigna luxuriated in the grips of a primitive, beastly bloodlust. So he's going ham on them. Presently, all went silenet. Presently all went silenet, save for the ebbing groans of the sinking shaman and Grigna's heaving breath, accompanied by several gusty curses. The well had run dry. No more lambs remained for the slaughter. The rampaging stead of death having taken Grigna for the moment, left the barbarian free to the exploitation of his other perusals. Towering over his head was the misshaped image of the cult's hideous deity, Argon. The fantastic size of the idol in consideration of it being of pure jade was enough to cause the senses of any man to stagger and reel. Yet thus was not the case for the behemoth. He had paid only casual notice of this incredible fact, while riveting the whole of his attention upon the jewel protruding from the idol's sole socket, its masterfully cut faucets emitting blinding rays of hypnotizing beauty. After all, a man cannot slink from a heavily guarded palace while burdened down by the immense bulk of a squatting statue, providing, of course, the idol can even be hefted, which in fact was beyond the reaches of Grigna's coursing stamina. On the other hand, the jewel, gigantic as it was, would not present a hindrance of any mean concern.
I like that statement as if that's just obvious. After all, a man cannot slink from a heavily guarded palace while burdened down by the intense bulking of a squatted statue. I mean, come on.
Yeah, guys, be sensible. Not even Grigna can do that. Like anyone would. Help me, please. I can make it well worth your while, pleaded a soft, anguish-strewn voice wafting over Grigna's shoulders as he plucked the dull red emerald from its roots. Wait. Red emerald?
Yeah, wasn't it just a green...
Emeralds are always green.
Yeah. And wasn't it also just described as green?
Yes. I think so. Of course, maybe that's what makes it so rare. It's the world's only red emerald. Turning, Grigna faced the female that had lured him into this bloodbath. Actually, yeah, it just occurred to me, he'd just forgotten all about her after killing all these people. He was just standing there, looking at the eye of the statue, just like, I'm going to fucking have that. Or there's this woman, I'm assuming still covered in her own vomit. The blood of all these people he's killed. Probably some leaked testicular fluid, just... And Grigna's just like, I'm going to take that eye. Grigna Turning, Grigna faced the female that had lured him into this bloodbath, but whom had become all but forgotten in the heat of battle. You, ejected the accordion in a pleased tone. I think that I had seen the last of you at the tavern, but verily I was mistaken.
Ah, she makes love well.
It was the wench that made love well.
I recognise those sagging nipples anywhere.
But the firm breasts. And the litheness. Don't forget the litheness. Grigna advanced into the grips of the female's entrancing stare, severing the golden chains that held her captive upon the altar's highly polished face of ornamental limestone. As Grigna lifted the girl from the altar, her arms wound dexterously around his neck, soft and smooth against his harsh exterior. Art thou pleased that we have chanced to meet once again? Grigna merely voiced a sighed grunt, returning the damsel's embrace while he smothered her trim, delicate lips between the coursing protrusions of his reeking maw. What a way to describe Grigna's lips. Fucking hell. "Let us take leave of this wretched chamber," stated Grigna as he placed the female upon her feet. She swooned a moment, causing Grigna to give her support, and then regained her stance. "Art thou able to find your way through the accursed passages of this castle?" "Murph, every one of the corridors of this damned place are identical. I was at one time a slave of Prince Agaphim. His clammy touch sent a sour swill through my belly, but my efforts reaped a harvest. I gained the pig's liking, whereby he allowed me the freedom of the palace. It was through this means that I eventually managed to escape at the western gate. His trust found him with a dagger thrust his ribs," the wench stated whimsicorically. That isn't a word. Wait, Prince Agaphim? Wasn't Agaphim the name of the counsellor to the prince before? That got stabbity-doo-wopped by Grigna. And either way, does she stabbed Agaphim?
This is the first mention of Agaphim in the book, unless it's spelled differently.
Really? I gotta go check that now. Oh, right, no. The other one was Agaphond.
Yeah, easily mistake.
So wait, what the fuck's this guy's name even? What's this guy? So that's Agaphond, and so it's Chancellor Agaphond and Prince Agaphim. Okay, I'm on board now. It still doesn't make sense, but I got it. So she stabbed the fat prince? That's mean. "What were you doing at the tavern whence I discovered you?" asked Grigna as he lifted the female through the opening into the mausoleum. "I had sought to lay low from the palace's guards as they conducted their search for me. The tavern was seldom frequented by the palace guards, and my identity was unknown to the common soldiers. It was through the disturbance that you caused that the palace guards were attracted to the tavern. I was dragged away shortly after you were escorted to the palace." "What are you called by, female?" Man, Grigna's got that silver tongue. "Carthena, daughter of Mincardos, Duke of Barwego, whose lands border along the northwestern fringes of Gorzon. I was paid as homage to Agaphim upon his 38th year. Husked the femme." She sure did husk. "And I am called a barbarian," grunted Grigna in a disgusted tone. "Aye, the ways of our civilization are in many ways warped and distorted. But what is your calling?" she queried. "Bustard?" Question mark.
What? Why is... Like, okay, A, yeah. Why is it, like, how can you question something bustily?
I don't know.
And B, I love the fact that he wasn't sure. He was, like, asking us, like, bustily?
Yeah. You there, reader. Was that a busty question? It's amazing. Grigna of Accordia. "Ah, I have heard vaguely of Accordia. It is the hill country to the far east of the Norigolian Empire." I think he's misspelt his own empire there. Maybe not, though. "I have also heard Agaphim curse your land more than once when his troops were routed in the unaccustomed mountains and gorges," saith she. "Aye, my people are not tarnished by petty luxuries and baubles. They remain fierce and unconquerable in their native climes." After reaching the hidden panel at the head of the stairway, Grigna was at a loss in regards to its operation. His fiercest heaves were as pebbles against the burnished armour. Carthena depressed a small symbol included within the elaborate design upon the panel, whereupon it slowly slid into the cleft of the wall. "How did you come to be the victim of those crazed shaman?" questioned Grigna as he escorted Carthena through the piles of rummage on the left side of the trap. "By Agathim's orders I was thrust into the secluded cell awaiting his passing of sentence. By some means the priests of Argon acquired a set of keys to the cell. They slew the guard placed over me and abducted me to the chamber in which you chanced to come upon the Scorsgetic sacrifice."
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think I could make a better attempt than that. "Their hell-spawned cult demands a sacrifice once every 3 moons upon its full journey through the heavens. They were startled by your unannounced appearance through the fear that you had been sent by Agathim. The prince would surely have submitted them to the most ghastly of tortures if he had ever discovered their unfaithfulness to Sargon, his bastard deity." Many of the partakers of the ritual were high nobles and high trustees of the inner palace. Agathim's pitiless wrath would have been unparalleled. "They have no more to fear of Agathim now," bellowed Grigna in a deep, mirthful tone. What? I think that's meant to be tone. A gleeful smirk upon his face. "I have seen that they were delivered from his vengeance." Engrossed by Carthena's graceful stride and conversation, Grigna failed to take note of the footfalls rapidly approaching behind him. As he swung aside the arched portal linking the chamber with the corridors beyond, a mad and bloodlusting screech reverberated from his eardrums. Seemingly utilizing the speed of thought, Grigna swiveled to face his unknown foe. With gaping eyes and widened jaws, Grigna raised his axe above his surly mane, spelt M-E-I-N. What? But he was too late. Close chapter 6.
And that was the essay that was chapter 6.
Yeah, that is like easily like a quarter to a third of the entire document on its own that we've read today.
And that leaves us with chapter 7
Chapter
and
7.
7.5 and the lost ending.
Lost ending, yeah. So, God, questions?
So many, but it's been so long. I wish we were back in the jail cell. Those were simpler times. It seems like so long ago.
I know. That was just such an essay. And again, not much really happened in that chapter.
Nope.
When you get down to it, it's just like, Grigna overpowered his guards, went wandering around, found a storeroom, nearly got impaled by a trap, realised for some reason that trap opens up into a portal, down to the passage below. Then, after smelling an awful corpse and hearing a scream, he decided to throw it out of its casket, found a door there, slaughtered most of the shaman. One of them died of an epileptic seizure.
For reasons.
And then he rescued the wench that makes love well. I've already forgotten her name. Carthena. She'll always be make love well wench to me. And then they started talking about their history and leaving, trying to escape.
Yep.
And that's where we're left off. That's everything that happened. I guess we found out from talking to Carthena a little bit about Agathim, his bastard deity Sargon. So it does seem like literally all of this shit is literally going on behind the Fat Prince's back, in the catacombs underneath his palace.
They're not part of
there's
his...
there's a cult that every 3 moons, so I don't know, I'm not good at the passages of the moon, but that's 2 months or something. I don't know, pulling that out of my arse, but still relatively regularly they kill someone underneath the palace. They've got this giant jade statue, and they decided just to steal this woman and kill one of his guards. They're Carthena's saying that if Agaphim, that's right, that's the right Aga.
Mm-hmm.
If Agaphim found out about this, he'd like hunt them down and kill them. Why are they doing this underneath? Like, was the idol of Argon already there? Is that why it has to be underneath the palace? Did this like predate them all by a long time? I was like, well, guess this is where we got to go. We got to sneak in a body once every few months to kill underneath the prince's nose. But why would they? Even if they're like shitting where they eat by necessity, why would they do it after eating that person's food as well? So it's like not content with that. It's like, we'll steal someone and kill his guard, something he's going to notice and hear about. But it'll be fine. He won't find out and catch us. Stupid. All for their score-stick sacrifices. Yeah, I feel like there is more to talk about in this chapter, but God, it's just so fucking long.
Yeah.
I can't even remember the specific stupid things that happened in the first half.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I was going to complain more about how the guards were like armoured and attired, but I don't have the spirit for it anymore. I don't even remember. It's all too long ago.
They're just a blur of mismatched armour in your mind now.
Yeah, just with two helmets on their heads. Just one on top of the other one.
Yeah.
Henry two helmets.
I think that's a good place to leave this rather long episode.
Yeah. Dear God, let this stop. How long? 1 hour 50. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I just don't want to think about this chapter anymore. it broke my spirit.
And you could tell it was breaking his, because like it got progressively much more much worse.
Yeah, just like worse written, more spelling mistakes, more insane. Just everything was just deteriorated as it progressed. He really needed to find a place for a chapter break in there, just somewhere, just to have a rest. Like it did have some ridiculously funny parts to it, but it was just mostly just too long. It's overshadowed by how ridiculously long it all was. Oh well. So, I mean, I guess we'll just have to leave you at home to mull over all of the insane happenings that happened in that chapter further, because we certainly can't. Not anymore. Not like this. But next time, we should be finishing off the Eye of Argon. As Louis said, only chapter 7.5, and the lost ending to do, which is still quite sizable, but compared to this, it's fucking nothing. And then we'll have plenty of time to talk about everything that's wrong with the plot after that. So yeah, we look forward to you joining us next week, where we're going to be finishing off the Eye of Argon. See ya.